Now we're going to have a free form discussion. Feel free, you guys have questions, jump in. Oh, all right, we've got a question. Roger.
And how long you've been in the cryptocurrency ecosystem, and what sort of people are real excited about Bitcoin Cash and who you are in your background?
Sure. So I remember first reading an article about Bitcoin back in 2012, and it was Eric Voorhees' Libertarian Introduction to Bitcoin. And it, sort of sent me down the rabbit hole of, oh my gosh, I've never really thought about what money is and how it works. And then when you go down that journey, you realize pretty quickly just how broken the existing monetary system really is. And it was just an incredibly compelling, exciting vision of, like I said, restoring financial sovereignty and freedom to individuals and just allowing people to transact with one another freely without, in a form of money that can't just be, imprinted and having their purchasing power stolen away. So, yeah, I thought it was incredibly compelling, and I still think that's an incredibly compelling vision.
So yeah, I actually got into Bitcoin in 2009. I was so early that I don't even think that there was a binary at the time. I had to compile it from source. And I actually managed to mine a block with my home computer. And at the time, I didn't know how special that was going to be. So let me disappoint you real quickly. So that the reward back then was 50 Bitcoin, which of course, if I had held it today, I'd be a multimillionaire. But I ended up spending, at the time, this was before Mt. Gox, so I couldn't even, it was priceless. I couldn't even spend them at the time. And I remember the first price on Mt. Gox that at least I was aware of was 5 cents per Bitcoin. And that was too low. I decided to hold on to them. And I eventually sold all 50 for $300. And I thought that was a pretty good deal for something that just ran on my computer while I was at work.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. A little contribution to everybody. So I was in the space from kind of 2009 and 2011. And again, yeah, Eric Voorhees was kind of, and Charlie Shrem were the first two guys I really saw on TV talking about Bitcoin. And so I was in the space from 2009, 2011, and I like talking to OGs because my memory of that time is a little different than I think most people's. And I got back into the space in 2017. I was doing some work on some of my own ideas, and I was working with the Open Bazaar guys. And their lead developer, Chris Pacia, was actively involved with Bitcoin Cash at the time of the fork. So he's the one that really got me back into Bitcoin. And then Roger hired Gabriel Cardona in 2018, and Gabriel hired me, and that is, I was working at Bitcoin.com for 2 years, and that was an amazing, magical time for me. I was getting paid in Bitcoin Cash. That was absolutely magical. And so ever since then, when I left Bitcoin.com, I went on to start fullstack.cash, and I'm still just active in the space, and I love it. I don't think I'm ever going to leave this space.
Yeah, I think mine's working all right. So mine is much more simple than you guys. So I came at it. Someone told me about it maybe in 2012 or 13, and I was like, "That's a scam." I didn't believe it. Yeah, I didn't think it was real at all. I'm an engineer, and I looked at it like, that's not real, man. That's like Blade Runner stuff that doesn't exist. It's like cred stick, whatever. So I didn't believe it at all. And then I saw the price go to some moon or another, and I was like, well, maybe I should look into it. And so I had to look into it, and I read the white paper. I saw, oh, okay. I understand how this works. It's not fake. It actually works. And this is a real thing. And I just missed it. So bye. So it flew off to the moon, and then it crashed with Gox, right? And I just caught every knife I could on the way down from Gox. So yeah, so I came into it just as an investment. I thought, hey, I understood this before some people, not these guys, but I understood it before some people, and I understand the impact that it can have. And yeah, let's do this thing and make some money. But after getting into it, then I actually realized, well, yeah, the reason it's going to be so valuable is that it's a historic thing. It's actually going to be in the history books. It's actually going to make a difference. And I made the decision, you know, well, I could just continue doing what I'm doing with my engineering work or whatever. And I was like, well, why not just put them together and make this new economy work and be part of the story, be part of the history books. So that was how I got into it. I was joking before, but it's not really a joke. He covered CBDCs, central bank digital currencies. And if you don't take anything away, if you need to go, whatever it is, that's the one thing that's coming at you hard and fast. You should really know a little bit more about it if you aren't already an expert on it. It's worth knowing about and knowing why you really want to have an alternative. So if you just heard one message, be ready for CBDCs, be prepared ahead of time, be working on the new economy, have an option. Don't get walked into a corner.
To me, when we look at this, reserve currencies out there, I would basically give the US dollar, an enormous amount of power. I know there's a lot of countries out there trying desperately to move the world away from the US dollar as a reserve currency. But right now, I view the United States as the greatest enemy to what you guys are trying to accomplish because they have the most to lose. And with, I think, 65, 70% of the world's reserve currencies, they have a staggering power which has allowed them to print trillions and trillions of dollars, which most of us believe is a real problem. And now Americans are beginning to feel it a little bit with a tad of inflation. But the truth is that if that reserve currency is lost, the United States is going to be a very scary place because you will have a depression like no one's ever seen before.
Yes.
So I look at the United States as literally, and I've been saying this to Roger for years, as the true enemy, okay, of what you're trying to do, and they have the great power. So my question is, knowing the United States, the more and more successful that you become in moving people toward Bitcoin Cash or any other successful cryptocurrency, the United States is going to use its power to crush you. It's a scary thing for anybody that's visible like Roger in the space. And they have so many ways, to do it. So my question at the end of this is, have you guys thought about, a way to deal with that when that monster comes?
Yeah,
So-
sure. I'd like to jump in first, actually.
Yeah.
So if you remember one of my slides, there was a thing that I didn't explain very well called the chip process. So this is the result of years of struggle, pain, splits, trying to figure out how to make things work without a king, without a decision maker that enforces decisions on everyone. We've been through a lot of pain to come up with this, and it works very well. So this is part of the answer, is that we understand and we keep at the center, we don't let it go, that we actually have to be decentralized. We can't have a center. We can't have someone that's captured or influenced or becomes an asset and suddenly the game is over, right? So it has to be this amalgamation of people, we have our marketing brain, engineering, all kinds of parts of it. It has to be everyone working together. And maybe you and I are a good example of that. The incentives set it up such that you have an idea, I have an idea, we're probably both working in the same direction. Without that incentive of making the network, making the money work, sorry about that. Without the incentive, we wouldn't be aligned like that. But when we are, we're able to do things without having to have a foundation in the center that holds the center. We're able to work without that. And that's a very rare thing. It's not a complete answer because when you bring the power of governments to bear, it's something very difficult to to resist. But Satoshi knew from the beginning, if you read some of the things he wrote, that there's no guarantees. There's no guarantee that anything will work. But as I said, General Protocols, our company has looked at everything that's out there. There's nothing that has a better chance of making it happen than Bitcoin Cash. So we're just working to make it
I
happen.
believe the question is, what am I doing to prevent the government from crushing me? And I'm not going to tell you where my bunker is, okay? But no, I mean, I think we are, genuinely, jokes aside, facing, the possibility of some very scary times. I mean, I think the hope was that, and the hope is that through education, through enough people kind of waking up to how broken the existing system is and how, the potential and how just better, the promise of peer-to-peer electronic cash is, that there'll be enough people invested with an interest in saying, no, we're not going to let you, shut this down, because this is important to us and this is, something we're willing to fight for. So, but I don't know that there's, I wish there were a good answer that guaranteed success, but I do think that's a real concern, is that when, I think we saw in 2008, it looked like sort of the house of cards of the monetary system was really starting to get shaky, and a lot of us thought, man, how are they going to be able to prop this up and kick that can? And they did for years, and I think in the last few years, it's starting to look shaky again, and I think all they did was delay the problem and make it ultimately bigger. So we'll see.
Check. Yeah. I'm pretty much going to say what John said, but in a different way. I'm really fond of looking from a historical standpoint. I'm really fond of looking back at the cypherpunk movement because I personally view Bitcoin as the next step in the open source movement, and the cypherpunks are sort of that fill in the gap there. And just like John said, we can't have a center. And so at the PSF, everything we do is open source and licensed under either the MIT license or the GPL v2 license. And it's for exactly that reason that we don't want to have, there's actually a number in the tech industry called the bus factor. And it's how many people in your organization have to get hit by a bus in order to destroy your organization. And in the PSF, we have a 0 bus factor because we're all interchangeable. We try to all understand the code, and that's how we fight it. This is what makes the U.S. government and all governments, all state actors for that matter, they're designed to regulate centralized entities. And if you look at any industry, the telecom industry, the financial industry, like pick any industry that's been around for a while, and you're going to find it has 2 or 3 major actors. And because that's what's optimal for the state. They are not set up to go after individual people. When they do, it's a terrible thing, but they're not very efficient at it. And so the way to keep our culture alive and not threatened is to decentralize and to eat our own dog food.
The decentralized aspect, like we're overusing it here, but we're actually serious about it, so it's okay. So, but all of us being decentralized, when I talk with Elliot, sometimes we talk about the decentralized brain, the C-suite. There's the executive suite, right? And we have that with Bitcoin Cash. We have people who are very good at marketing, people who are very good at onboarding and working with merchants, people who are very good at engineering. We have all these different parts of the C-suite, but we're not allowed to have the CEO. You're not allowed to have that center point who makes the final decision. We have to make it together. And what that means is everyone who's out there who thinks this is important, who thinks you're going to make money with it, who thinks you're going to build a company or do an investment, you're not going to be able to just watch it. You have to be paying attention. You have to understand that the 100x, the 1000x opportunity that's there for you is something that's going to require some action and paying attention and listening and participating. you're going to be a real stakeholder in what happens. And it's going to be historical, but yeah, it's going to take everybody. You can't just sit by and watch.
My name is Rianjo de Cuba. I'm a software engineer, and I'm quite lucky to come from the 90s. So I grew up with the internet. So when they was talking about the open source, so basically back in the days, we're talking about Oracle being the strong, and then we start focus much in MySQL, and we made open source powerful to the point now that nobody can touch open source.
Yeah.
So with the question about the decentralized, because I was involved with eGold, and I lost money with eGold. And a friend of mine walked into my office and said, let's invest into Bitcoin. Talk about 2010. And I generated Bitcoins, 250 Bitcoins, five transactions.
Nice.
You know what I did? I threw the computer away because I got a new laptop. But, so yes, I'm also part of the story.
Thank you, sir.
And Robin and I, as a business partner, we tried to buy Bitcoin in 2012. Where to buy it? Nobody, there was nobody to sell it to us. But the idea of the decentralization is for them to stop, like this question, to stop us right now, they have to stop the internet. Because every time someone goes on the internet, puts a network working, there's another one. So there's no way I think no one can ever stop us at this point. So you should not be worried right now for the United States. We're behind that point.
It's amazing, and especially the technical part, for me, it is precious to hear how much development is inside the Bitcoin Cash community, and how strong is the focus in creating a technology that can supersede banks and other financial and centralized institutions. So my questions are for John and Chris, especially for John, who talked the most about the chip process. And I wanted to ask him whether the chip process allows for regular people or users to propose changes, and whether those changes are only limited to consensus changes or protocol changes, or something more like at the user level, for example.
This one is about the chip process. This is how we make hard decisions in Bitcoin Cash. And what I mean by hard decisions is decisions you can't take back. You can't make the decision and then say, wow, maybe that wasn't the best way to do it. No, these are hard decisions. These are what we call consensus decisions. These are decisions that affect everyone on the network. They affect how the money works. That's the focus of the chip process. So the second question you had is, what's it focused on? It's really about the hard decisions, like consensus. You can use it for other things. It's a process. You can use it for anything, but it's really about those irreversible decisions that we have to make. And these are traditionally very difficult decisions to make without a central authority to make them, because they're hard and they're going to affect everyone. And so instead of just saying, well, it's easier to have a king, we came up with the process. And the answer to your first question is that it involves everyone. And that's what I said before. You can't just sit back and watch this thing happen. You're going to participate in this history. So the chip process is started and operated by stakeholders. So we didn't talk in detail, but a chip is a document. You make a document and you propose it to the ecosystem. There's no authority to submit it to. There's no one that you send it to and you say, hey, I'd like to submit my request. No, you just have to figure it out. You put it out in the world and you say, I have a proposal. I think this is a very important thing to be done. These are the benefits. These are the drawbacks. These are the 100 companies and individuals and organizations that I have talked to about it, and they understand why it's valuable. It's a social process. So the chip process, anyone can participate in it. As a matter of fact, very differently from the history, there's something called the BIP process, the BIP process. It's a very narrow, technical, engineering-oriented process. The chip process is a social process that involves engineering, politics, economics. It involves every aspect of the network. So it necessarily involves stakeholders who do everything, not only engineers.
I'd love to know what tools you're using to drive this grassroots adoption, and what tools do you already have and you like, and what tools do you feel are needed that would make things even easier for you to do even more of what you're doing already. And thank all of you. Thank you.
In Argentina, we have a problem with employees. Usually they don't stay in the same place because many reasons, but I think that the laws make it difficult for you to keep an employee for a long time. So it's maybe you find one guy one day and the next day is another guy, or next week. So that's a problem. And we try to solve it in this mini market with an idea that I don't know who came up with that, but that was great. Just put in the clothes a QR code. So you don't have to know anything. Just I am seeing that you accept. Even if you don't know, I do know. And I'm scanning this, and it's in your clothes. So you cannot say, I do not accept. I can pay you. And we are doing that in that way.
That's a great idea. That's a good stuff. So this year I've been using the Bitcoin.com register app, the wallet, because I find it's fast and easy. It's less problems. If you've got merchants around the city and they've all got different POSs, then it's hard to keep a track on who's updated with what. So I had young Silverblood develop me a application where I can see what merchants are doing. I'd be secret shopper. I go around, see how they go with their merchant terminals. There's a few areas that I'd like to improve on. But with the merchant adoption in the Bitcoin Cash City Townsville, we've got a lot of just regular people interest now. And so the problem that I face in our first world country worldview is we've got this hodl mentality that's been deep-seated now in the crypto community. So I'm interested with the Zappit thing where they have this rebate token of 20% or 25%. I'm going to test that out where I come from to see if I can use that to leverage their application to have more Bitcoin Cash spending in my city. So I also use Instagram and YouTube. So I think Instagram and social media is a great way to promote your businesses that accept Bitcoin Cash. It is free advertisement for the merchant. And if you tag them in and you tag Bitcoin Cash, you're bringing the two together, and your social reach, not just for Bitcoin Cash, but for the merchant, is extended. We want to try and get Bitcoin Cash viral. And if we can make Bitcoin Cash viral and bring that merchant with the virality, it's a 360 win.
How are you guys going to be collaborating, cooperating, showing other people how to do it? Because I'm sure you went through a lot of pain to find your own way.
I've got that, John. Yeah, I'm already doing it. So, you know, I know you lead by example. See, once the business, the merchant gets the why Bitcoin Cash, they become a proponent of education for you. So once they learn what you know, they become their own. So pretty much you've got people teaching and doing their own little meetups and stuff like that without even you having to. Sometimes I just sit back and I just let them talk, and I'm just there just to oversee it. So we have a merchant called Inner Light Meditation Center. They allow us to have merchants come there, and they would sometimes teach, or if they don't know something, I'll answer the question. Those types of settings is where you can get into the deeper things, because learning about Bitcoin Cash, and I've been in it for a while, but there's lots of stuff I don't know. I don't know everything. I mean, there's NFTs and there's all this stuff going on. So it's about teaching each other, and then it creates a ripple effect. And then that's why I'm saying, like, curating in the early stages of merchant adoption is vital until the network effect is there, and then it sort of takes over.
Yeah, I think that we should be impatient. What we're doing will be fruitful in the future, because we know there's the system as it is not sustainable. So at some point, it will not matter what we do. It will matter what we did, because we are building like a refuge.
A lifeboat, right?
Yeah, a lifeboat. So eventually, I think we will have, like it or not, bull markets are what gets the eyes of people. But perhaps the next big bull market will not be as happy as before, because people will be running from fiat. I think so. And at that point, it will matter a lot what we are building today. Even if we don't have excellent results everywhere, we are doing what almost nobody else
I've
is
got a
doing.
question about Argentina. So I've hired developers in Venezuela, and part of my relationship with them is learning about Venezuelan culture that is very foreign to Americans. So a couple examples. In Venezuela, merchants love US dollars, but they won't accept them if they're dirty or torn. So dollars down there are not fungible like they are up here. And that's just a very hard thing for Americans to wrap their head around. And another example is like, if you pay in dollars, you don't get change back. And that's also a very like hard concept for Americans to wrap their head around. But once you understand it, you understand that that's like a big value for crypto, because that problem goes away.
Exactly.
So as an American who wants to support Bitcoin Cash in Argentina, are there other cultural strange things like that that we should be aware of?
A strange, you want to hear about a strange thing? In Argentina, not many people will accept dollars directly, but you have what we call cuevas. It's a place where you can informally exchange dollar for pesos almost every block. You just ask anywhere and people will point to the next cueva, and it's always in the same block. So it's, yeah, the currency is the dollar. But I don't want to explain the complexities of it, but people use these black market cuevas because the exchange rate is favorable to you if you have the dollars. So if you have dollars, Argentina is cheap, but not if you exchange at the official rate. So yeah, that's a thing that I don't know if anywhere else it's that way. And perhaps in Venezuela, it's similar. But now I think Venezuela is getting better. Argentina, I don't know what will happen, but people, the good thing about Argentina is that people are very used to ignore government mandates, whatever. They don't care. I don't mean with this that all Argentinians are libertarians, but they behave like they are.
Another question about Argentina is, do you find that stable coins play a big role down there? Like as Americans, we're sensitive to the volatility of Bitcoin, but with the inflation in Argentina, it's a different perspective.
Yeah. Many people, I would say, I was going to say fell for that, but I understand the utility of stablecoins. I'm always explaining to people, look at the dangers. But people, yes, people use them. But people, each time we have a big collapse or a big, como se dice, the newspaper says, watch out with this exchange or whatever, people start to fear. And so they know this is not a definitive solution. But many people use them, yes. They use them to get money from outside to Argentina, not necessarily to pay in stores. It's to exchange in cuevas. The cuevas almost all accept crypto, and they don't care which crypto.
Your perspective as persons marketing to merchants to try to adopt using Bitcoin Cash, what happens in relation to their taxation, for example? Because, when I set a wallet up to buy Bitcoin Cash, it's anonymous. Nobody knows who I am. You just set this wallet up. You could be anybody. How does it work when these businesses have to account to their tax authorities?
How do you do it with cash? Yeah. To pay in cash, how do you do it?
Of course, of course.
If you receive a payment in cash, this is exactly the same.
Right, but it's depending on basically the honesty of the business, because when persons...
Exactly as with regular fiat cash.
Right.
That's the answer. I'm not an accountant, not a lawyer, but we have a huge cash economy. So people are used to this, and it it can't be, Argentina can't work without cash. And so that's why I said Argentine people are used to this, and they really, they understand it instantly. You don't have to push for this. You don't have to explain a lot. They see the benefits because they need it every day. So I don't know exactly how it is, but I don't think it's that way. You are supposed to report everything like the bank does. But some people, let's say you are, I don't know, you are como se dice, taking care of a baby, and you pay in cash. I don't think that's a reportable event. I don't know, but in that case, you can use BCH the same. Okay, so in Australia, it's not in the best interest of companies to be dodgy. There's software that you can have that enables your accountant to get the maximum tax rebate for your, we've got GST, you know, we can make claims, we can make tax deductions. Now, if you're doing something dodgy, you won't be able to get those tax deductions. Like you said, it's on the blockchain, it's easily